Attention, please. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go. Face in your face. Face in your face.
Hey guys, it's Mizzy, and I'm a mixed girl in a mixed up world. How's it going today? I cannot talk. It's the live show. Sorry, it's been a long morning or day, I should say. I should start over, but anyway, how's everyone doing today? I'm doing pretty good. Starting to feel better today. I was able to not cough for 90% of the day, so that's an improvement. I was able to take my dog out for a walk today, so I'm doing a lot better than I was a few days ago. How's everyone doing? Hi, Miss Jessica. Hi, Em. Hi, Kate. Hi, Sassy. How is everyone doing tonight? It's good to see you, Em. Hey, Barb. So before I get going on reading the report, that's my plan tonight, is to begin the Stoughton Internal Report. It's a long report, so it's going to be broken up in pieces. But I did want to, before I did that, I wanted to, say a few things about some stuff going on, and also talk about what today is and what tomorrow is. Obviously, it's the 28th, February 28th, and tomorrow's the 29th. So the 28th going into the 29th is the anniversary for Officer John O'Keefe. I have a photo that I want to share that I made for somebody else, actually. Give me 1 second. Oh, that's the Sandra one. I made this photo poster for my friend Annie, but I changed it up for me. It just says Justice for Boston Police Officer John J. O'Keefe. His badge number was 2490. End of watch, February 29th, 2022. As you know, I am an advocate for those who have been murdered, and my condolences go out to the O'Keefe family. It's the 3-year anniversary for him. On Saturday is the 4-year anniversary for Sandra, and these cases are connected just because of what happened with what surrounds them, with the investigations that surround them. And I just wanted to make sure that I did pay, tribute to John, because it's very important to make sure that we're always thinking about, Officer O'Keefe when we talk about these cases. That's why, when I talk about Sandra's case, I talk about the investigation that went into John's case, how there's a lot of similarities when it comes to the case, how there's a lot of the same officers on this case, on John's case, that were on Sandra's case. And it's very important that we always make sure that we honor those whose lives were taken away too soon. I don't cover John's case as much because I've been so, concentrating on Sandra's case, but there is a symmetry to these cases. They aren't directly, related, but when it comes to the chaos and the corruption that surrounds the investigations of these cases. So I wanted to make sure that I, paid some homage to John. I feel it's very important it's very important to, make sure we honor him on the anniversary of his death, which is tomorrow. So wanted to make sure I, got to say that before. And also, Saturday is the 4-year anniversary for Sandra. I wish I could zoom in with this. Oops, too much. Saturday's the 4-year anniversary for Sandra. We do have a standout. I'm going to show you those posters in a minute. We do have a standout for her on Saturday, 1 p.m. at the Canton Police Department. Want to make sure that people know that if you're coming, you cannot park in the church parking lot, and there isn't a bathroom for us to use. We're not allowed to use the police department's bathroom anymore. So make sure you plan for that. We're trying to get the largest crowd as we can get there, because it's very important on this day it's very important on Saturday, because it's the first time that we can specifically say, that there is paperwork and there is there has been a doctor that has said she was murdered on that day. The law enforcement, the FBI and DOJ are saying that she was murdered on that day. This is the first time we've been able to really say this. So we want to make sure that we have a good showing on Saturday. So please, if you're in the Boston area and you want to come, please, you're all welcome to come. We do have extra signs, but if you have access to make a sign, or if you want on your way there, if you want to pick up a piece of poster board, it doesn't matter how you don't have to have this elaborate, grandiose sign, just with a magic marker say "Justice for Sandra Birchmore," and that's perfectly, homemade signs are awesome too, So, we would love for you to come stand with us, because Sandra's case is very important, and we want to make sure that we try to get the biggest crowd we can there. I'm going to bring up the poster if you give me a second. Let me click out of here. So we are doing the standout on Saturday, and then on the 4th, we also have the Matthew's court date. And if you can't come on Saturday, but you can come on Tuesday, that would be great. Let me just bring these up. And this is the poster for the standout for Matthew Farwell. It's at the Moakley building in Boston, and we're going to be there at 9:00 in the morning, and the hearing starts at 10:45. So please, yes. Yes, Sassy Pants. It's in Boston at the Moakley building, the Moakley courthouse. You know, we want to have a good showing there too, because there will be press. And I sent out to all the press that I had in my phone. I sent them both flyers today to make sure that we could, you know, to drum up as much press as we can for Tuesday and for Saturday. So if we could get a good, you know, a good group there. Thank you, Barb. Yeah, I love the app, Canva. I love that app. It's just it's such an amazing tool to be able to, you know, make the you know, make the flyers that we need to make to show. And you know, it's such a wonderful tool for us, because I can bang them out pretty fast. And you know, like there's other apps that I do some videos on too to show what we're doing. So hi, Suzanne. So if any of you can come to either, you know, both or just one, please do. You know, we want to have a good showing, to, you know, especially on these 2 dates. I think these are probably 2 of our most important standouts that we've done, because it's going to be, besides, you know, I think that I wasn't even a part of the groups that got down to the Stoughton Police Department and the Moakley Courthouse for when Matthew was arrested. Besides those, I think these are our 2 most important standouts, because this is the first year of being able to say this is when Sandra was murdered on February 1st, because in her death certificate it says the 4th. And also, you know, this is the first hearing since Matthew's been arrested. You know, the other hearings were postponed. So we want to try to get, you know, a good crowd there. So if you can show up, please, it would be greatly appreciated. So tonight I'm going to start, like I said, I'm going to start reading the Stoughton Police Department internal report. It's a long report, so I'm not going to go over it. This might be a 3-parter, especially since I'm not feeling too well tonight. But I wanted to make sure I came on and we could start going through it, and we could start, you know, you guys can ask questions. Barb and Suzanne are in the chat, and they can definitely answer some of your questions if I'm reading and you have a question about what I'm reading. Thank you for joining us from Arizona. Thank you. Yeah, so I know I keep saying I've been fighting a migraine all day, so I tend to say a lot, because I do get brain fog with my migraine, so I sometimes have problems finding my words. So it's kind of good. I'm going to be reading. It's not going to be my words. So give me 1 second, and I'll get that all set up. And I need a cough drop so I don't start coughing. On a good note, I am definitely feeling better. I only had I think 2 coughing fits, which is a great improvement from my coughing fits of yesterday was a bad cough. I had a lot of coughing fits. I'm on a 2nd round of antibiotics, so I think they're starting to help me. So let me get that going. Give me 1 second. Okay. Okay. Now, this report was done by Brian Holmes. He's the former Stoughton Deputy Chief of Stoughton Police Department. He has moved on and is a police chief. And Suzanne, is it Hanson? I always mix up if it's Hanson or Kingston. I can never remember. It's one of those two. Suzanne might remember. Now, this report, I have some opinions on. I have a lot of opinions on. I think, he did this report in good faith. I think he did a fairly good job, him and his investigators. He actually got outside investigators. He actually hired, they hired 2 former police officers who actually had moved on and became private inspectors, private detectives. Inspector. Sorry, my brain isn't working. And he moved on to, and he hired them to help him instead of hire, it's, so I think that portion was good. They kind of walled it off from all the other police officers in the station, which I think was a good call, because granted, he was the investigator, but it wasn't, the rest of their colleagues investigating. And one thing I do like about it is there's no love lost between him and Devine. I have a feeling, this is me speculating, but just because I know from knowing just from knowing Robert Devine a little bit, from reading his stuff and seeing how he acts when he's in hearings and stuff, he probably was nasty to Holmes after he was demoted, because Holmes took his position. So there's no love loss. And like I said, this is going to be a multi-episode thing where I go through the report, but he calls Devine a liar in a bunch of different ways in this report, which, I know Suzanne loves that he calls him a liar, and it tickles my fancy that he calls him a liar too. And I'm sure Barb loves that. So I think for the most part, to warn you, there is a lot of redactions, but for the most part, it's a good report. My opinion is they didn't go far enough. Some of that was because of logistics, because of the way Robert Devine ran the program. So there was a lot of stuff that I don't know if he took it home with them and he hid it, or there's a lot of stuff missing. So I don't know if they weren't able to contact all the former explorers, but that's my biggest issue with this report. I feel like every former explorer should have, from the police explorers program, should have been interviewed. So that's my issue with this report. So, like I said, Barb and Suzanne are in the report, are in the chat. So if you have any questions that I'm not answering, or if they can, talk about it anymore, they've both read this report many times. So, they know this report very well. And I will try to pop back and forth. I am going to be doing a lot of commenting on it, my issues with things and things that I find weird. But let's get this started, because like I said, it's a long report. As you can see, it's 60 pages. So we're not going to do 60 pages tonight. To Chief McNamara. Wish this was. Pursuant to your directive of February 5th, 2021, to conduct this investigation, I hereby submit the following report into the matter of an unattended death of Sandra Birchmore, and into the possible, whoops, sorry guys, I forgot to bring it back in. Sorry. And into the possible violations of police procedure rules and regulations of the Stoughton Police Department. And this report, he was submitted it on August 29th. And they had their the news report I saw, the YouTube version is listed as September 23rd. So they didn't release this report for a while. Investigation directive. This administrative investigation was conducted to determine any violations of policy, procedure, rules, and regulations of the Stoughton Police Department by any of its employees. This investigation began as a result of the unattended death investigation that was conducted by the Massachusetts State Police into the death of Sandra Birchmore of Canton, Mass., formerly of Stoughton, Mass. A former participant in the Stoughton Police Explorers Program investigative reports and evidence in this case was shared with the Massachusetts State Police concerning personal relationships that members of the Stoughton Police Department had with Miss Birchmore. Come on. Throughout the course of this investigation, there was an understanding between the Massachusetts State Police and me that should my evidence be discovered concerning criminal culpability involving anybody connected in any way to this case, that I would refer that information to Massachusetts State for the MSP for further investigation. Per policy, the Chief of Police received weekly updates as to the progress of this investigation, standard 5.2.4, and on occasions with more frequency when relevant. A determination was made in the early stages of this investigation that disclosure of allegations to employees who would eventually be identified would jeopardize the investigation. Standard 5.2.5. An approximate timetable was provided and updated as information developed. Some delays in the process of data were beyond the control of the investigator. Any depositions or findings are based upon the preponderance of evidence standards of proof. Introduction and background of investigation. On February 4th, 2021, the Canton Police Department responded to a sudden death, Exhibit 1, Canton Police Department, 21-79-OF. The call originated as a well-being check from, and it's redacted, the employer of the victim, Sandra Birchmore, which would be the Sharon School. The call came here to the Stoughton Police Department as Birchmore's address of record was 40 Holbrook Ave in Stoughton. Now, let me tell you something interesting about that address. That house was burnt to the ground, basically, on the 2-year anniversary of Sandra's murder. And it was not too long after that her estate had filed the civil claim. It's just something that's, suspicious that happened, but it's, I just wanted to put that out there. It's where her family lived. It's where her grandmother lived. It ended up being given to her aunt when her grandmother passed away. And it's where Sandra spent a lot of time. She did live there off and on with the family. So it was a place that Sandra called home. She was not happy when she had to move out of there because, like I said, it was the place that she considered most to be her home. And so. The call came, I read that. Further communication directed that the Canton police to do a wellness check at 3307 Windsor Woods Way, as Birchmore had moved there reportedly. Birchmore had not reported to work in several days. Are you guys able to see me? Because I can't tell if I'm cutting in and out. Because can I get like a thumb up if you guys are, if I'm cutting it, or a thumb down if I'm cutting in and out, or a thumb up if you guys can see me, like what's going on. Yeah, I think I forgot to do this. Sorry. I'm still getting used to how to go back and forth. And I keep thinking when I go back to the other, because I have to do it on another screen to read it. So when I go back, I forget to click to put it up on screen. This is all new to me, people. Okay. So here we go. The victim, Miss Birchmore, was pronounced deceased at the scene by Canton paramedic, which makes no sense unless he called to get a doctor to pronounce her dead. He's technically not allowed to pronounce her dead. But anyway, she died from redacted, and then it says see exhibits, subsequent MSP interview. And we don't have the exhibits. We only have the report. On or about February 5th, 2022, we were contacted by a detective from Massachusetts State Police Unit that is assigned to Norfolk DA's office. The nature of the call was to notify you that the former member of the Stoughton Police Explorers program now terminated as of 2016. The program was terminated because Robert Devine was in a different scandal where he did a lot of shady stuff. The reason why he was demoted was because of this. He was having an affair with a young woman, and when basically the relationship went sour, he was setting her up to make it look like she was harassing him when it was him harassing her and his wife. And I don't know why he's not in prison for that. but I digress. And, they arrested her, they searched her house, and he set her up. And it's sad. He destroyed her life, and it's heartbreaking what happened to her. This department had redacted. The trooper related that the former police explorer and victim, Sandra Birchmore, had been in an redacted relationship with Detective Matthew Farwell for an extended period of time. He indicated that on the day Miss Birchmore, and it's redacted, and I think they were saying they were trying today Miss Birchmore, I think they were saying, unalived herself. Other troopers and the Canton Police Department responded as they ordinarily would to any unattended death. The MSP had been contacted by friends and family of the victim, Miss Birchmore, alerting the detective unit to the relationship between Matthew Farwell and Birchmore concerning, and there's a fairly big it's redacted, and it says see exhibit S1 through S24, which, like I said, we cannot see the exhibits. It was further relayed that the Massachusetts Medical Examiner's Office took jurisdiction of the body and later confirmed that the victim, Miss Birchmore, and then it's redacted, I think it says unalived herself, I cannot talk today. My brain is not working. Primary investigation information showed Detective Farwell on the video surveillance of Miss Birchmore's apartment approximately 4 days before she was discovered deceased. Farwell spent about 20 minutes inside the apartment. Further investigation by MSP indicated that Farwell had known the victim, Miss Birchmore, since she was 13 years of age and began redacted relationship with her at the age of 15. Text messages developed from Massachusetts MSP investigation indicated that Farwell had, and it's redacted, with Sandra Birchmore when she was 15, and that Farwell, and it's redacted, the substance of the conversation shows that Farwell coordinates this action, and then it says exhibits, which again we don't have. The investigation by the Massachusetts State Police did not yield sufficient provable cause with which to charge Matthew Farwell with a crime at this time. Now let's just talk about how much of a joke that is. Now that we know that that DOJ and the FBI have charged Matthew with a crime, and how dereliction in their duties the Massachusetts State Police were. And I didn't realize with the new filing that just came out with for Karen Reed, some of the same players, were in that, and Matthew, I think it's Matthew, Trooper Dunn, who was kind of the co-lead on this case with Trooper Fanning, it's just when you see these names, like I said before, these cases are intertwined because of the investigations or lack of investigations in this case. And, I had wondered why he was on the defense list to testify. And now I know that he took part in one of the things of parts of the cover up of Karen. So, the fact that they want to say that, there was insufficient findings to charge him, now we know is laughable. The washing machine had clothes in the washing machine, clothes in the dryer. There was the necklace that was on the floor that was, had a clump of hair in it. And just, some of the other things that they came up with. And also the fact that I'm going to show the video. I know you've probably all seen the video. I'll show the video later of him going in and out. For them to say that video basically, nothing to see here, of him going in and out of her apartment is ludicrous. Like, they should have been honing in on him. And, at Michael Morrissey's office, when we did the big standing, Stronger Together standout, I made a point to say, have all the guys raise their hands there and say, if you were the one who did this, you were caught on video walking in and out of a young woman's apartment, and you were there for about 30 minutes, you would be sitting in jail. So for the Massachusetts State Police unit under Michael Morrissey to say nothing to see here, folks, is utterly ridiculous. And it just to see that in a report is just mind-numbing. After discussion with me and the appointed authorities, the appointing authority, a decision was made to place Matthew Farwell on paid administration leave, given the nature of what was known at that point in time. They should have placed him on leave with no pay. They already had proof that he did that with a 15-year-old girl. That should have been no pay. Ultimately, the Massachusetts State Police investigation would determine, through the Office of Chief Medical Examiner, that the cause of death, the victim, Sandra Birchmore, they claim she unalived herself. Analysis of the victim's communication shows extensive dialogue between her and Matthew Farwell. When Matthew Farwell was told that he had arrived at her apartment and she told him to come up, Matthew Farwell was the last person known to see Sandra Birchmore alive. Given the volume of data, the town authorized the assistance of outside investigators. PI Paul, I can never pronounce this guy's name, Italian, was initially brought in to assist. We would later bring in PI Robert Fries and Michael Bates as an IT consultant. All investigators are retired ranking members of Massachusetts State Police with extensive investigation experience. Given the volume of data, the town, I already read that. Much of the initial the investigative steps were centered in a PDF document that contained a download of data from the victim of Sandra Birchmore's laptop. I just want to talk about something. So, something that's been going on that I've noticed there's an uptick on Twitter or X, whatever the heck you want to call it. There's been an uptick of people carrying a lot of water for the Massachusetts State Police and trying to have a revisionist history of what they did in this case. And I find it funny that it's the same people who are against Karen Read and the Free Karen Read movement. And now they've kind of started not full on attacking me, but trying to, make comments that, actually Suzanne tweeted something yesterday and I replied to it. And after I replied to it, this person started, saying stuff at me and saying like that Nicholas Garino is the reason why, that Matthew was arrested. I was like, you mean the stuff that they just had to turn on her computer and find? And the person was saying, oh no, all the deleted messages that he had to find. Well, everything was there on her computer. All they did was download it. So this revision of history that they keep trying to do is ludicrous. And I just wanted to make sure I said that too. It's ridiculous. The laptop had been synchronized with her cell phone. A later analysis of the cell phone provided a data pull was less cumbersome and earlier to identify users and people with whom the victim, Sandra Birchmore, was having discussions. Data was provided to me in Celebrate form for easier and more organized analysis. I apologize, this thing just doesn't. The investigation would later show that Matthew Farwell had a long-standing, and it's redacted, and I assume it says sexual relationship with the victim, Sandra Birchmore, and that his twin brother, William Farwell, had, and it's redacted, relationship with the victim, Birchmore. The investigation also determined by preponderance of the evidence that Officer Robert Devine had a redacted, I probably says sexual relationship with the victim, Sandra Birchmore. The investigation showed evidence that, and it says it's redacted, behavior took place between Matthew Farwell and Sandra Birchmore, and that Robert Devine was engaged, it's redacted, of Matthew Farwell and Matthew Farwell and William Farwell as his understudies. I'm sorry, I forgot to show it. So in this, we'll see more of this, but that's one of the things that we've been trying to, make sure we say that this doesn't excuse Matthew and William's actions, but Robert Devine groomed them too. He brought them in and showed them how to be. He took them under his wing, and they go into a little bit of how he took the boys under his wing when they were young, because they were also explorers when they were teenagers, and they were troubled teenagers. They were getting into trouble, and they were doing things that, you know, they should have never been police officers, like pulling people over pretending to be police officers, and when they were teenagers. That should have been why they were never allowed to be police officers. But because their old buddy, their mentor, Robert Devine, put in a good word, and they were able to become, you know, police officers in Stoughton. Contact was made with some participants of the former Stoughton Police Department Police Explorers Program to determine if any appropriate behavior, actions, or blank, it's redacted, took place. Beyond that was made apparent through evidence initially obtained. We also interviewed department members and a family member of Sandra Birchmore. You would think they would have interviewed more than just a family member, but I hate this. Notwithstanding the resignations of any prospective targets of this investigation, interviews were drafted and strategically planned. To the further extent possible, we exhausted all investigative resources. The investigation represents a crossroads between the statutorily authorized investigative authority of the Massachusetts State Police detectives assigned to the Norfolk DA's office and the appropriate sharing of information in order to carry out a comprehensive administration investigation. At a point early in the investigation, there was an understanding that the Massachusetts State Police still maintains primary jurisdiction over any criminal activity that the administrative investigation could reveal. To that extent, the understanding was that if I found evidence of a crime, I would stop the administrative process and refer this case, as well as all evidence, back to MSP. That's concerning, because we know what MSP does to investigations involving police officers. I'm sorry. One witness came forward alleging that, unredacted, by Matthew Farwell. This matter was referred back to Massachusetts MSP, and the victim in that case did not cooperate with the interview process. See investigation summary below, which we don't get to see. I think I know what that's about. I conducted a review of the administration investigation of Robert Devine that was conducted by investigator Paul White. I reviewed the findings as well as the entire case file. That was the story I was just telling you guys about the girl. A girl he was cheating, having an affair with. So that's what that investigation was about. I conducted personal file reviews of, and it redacted, Matthew Farwell and William Farwell. Several civilian witnesses interviews were conducted. See transcripts file T-1 through T-10. A conclusion of fact is detailed below. Executive summary. Matthew Farwell. Matthew Farwell has been a sworn member of the Stoughton Police Department from March 27th, 2012 until the date of his resignation, April 1st, 2022. He was a member of the Stoughton Police Explorers Group during his teenage years and had been designated the rank of Deputy Chief within the Explorers program in 2002. After high school, he entered the military and later acted as a guest instructor within the Explorers program, at the request of or direction of Robert Devine. Sandra Birchmore was a member of the Stoughton Police Explorers Group beginning in 2010 when she was 13 years old. She was on the standby list for the program in 2010 and was in 2011 and remained in the program until 2016, the year she graduated from Stoughton High School. Sandra Birchmore was found deceased at her apartment in Canton on February 4th, 2021, after a well-being check when she didn't report to work. The Norfolk County District Attorney's Office conducted an investigation and determined the manner of death, and it's a big redaction. I think there's more redacted too. No. On February 6, 2021, Matthew Farwell was interviewed by the Massachusetts State Police as part of the Sandra Birchmore death investigation. During this interview, actually, before I get to that part, so when they spoke to Matthew Farwell, they interviewed him in the parking lot of the elementary school. And so basically they were like, it was a kid gloves interview that was conducted. It wasn't a sit-down interview, which it warranted. At that point that they interviewed him, they had already seen the video. I believe they saw the video. Well, actually, they might not have. They might have saw the video after. I'm not 100% sure. That's very possible that they were directed over there. It's just that you would think that they would want to speak to the family members also, because they're with their investigation conducting to see what they knew too, because it wasn't, I don't know. That's just what I was thinking. I can't remember, because like I said, I've been dealing with a headache. Suzanne or Barb, do you know if they interviewed him before or after they saw the video, because I can't remember at the moment. My brain, it's like, I cannot remember. But anyway, the interview was conducted with kid gloves. They knew that that they were getting calls about him, and that they were getting calls that he was the father of her baby. So it was, you know, it was pretty disturbing. Yeah, but I wasn't sure if they had talked. Yeah, okay. I was pretty, because he admitted. Yes, now that I think about it, okay, he admitted that he was the last person to see her, so he had to. They had to have seen the video, because they knew. So it's disturbing. It's disturbing that they didn't call him in for a sit down. They made him, you know, do the interview in a parking lot. You know, already right there, they're showing him that he wasn't, you know, he was different. He wasn't, you know, he wasn't a, like I said to those guys at the standout, put your hands up, because you would be in jail. They would have been called in and would have been made to sit down. Again, I apologize, guys. My head has been bothering me all day. So sometimes when I try to recall things and I have brain fog, I get brain fog because of my migraine. So, okay. All right. Okay. During the interview, Matthew Farwell stated he knows Sandra. He's known Sandra for about 10 years, and they met when she was in the Explorers program of the Stoughton Police Department. He knew she had previously, and then it's redacted, and then it says Matthew Farwell stated to the state police he began, redacted, relationship with Sandra in 2020, which is a lie. That is a flat out lie. So I believe that little redacted part before that is a sexual relationship with Sandra Birchmore in 2020. When it was 2015, he admitted it's redacted. In December 2020, Sandra told him, it's redacted, I believe it says she was pregnant. He stated he last saw her the evening of February 1st, 2021, when he went to her apartment to end their relationship. They had a pretty nasty argument, and he left there at approximately 9:30, which is another lie. You know, the fact where he was already being treated with kid gloves and he lied. He flat, because he knew if he said 2015, he would be admitting to statutory. So it's ridiculous. During the state police investigation into Birchmore's death, there was an analysis of her devices, cell phone, laptop, etc., and social media platforms. This part of the investigation revealed that Matthew Farwell was in contact with Birchmore by text messages back at least to 2000 back to at least 2020. During many of their text communications, the topic discussions were, it's redacted. There had been hundreds of text messages between Matthew and Sandra Birchmore that had been reviewed as part of this investigation. Of note, there was a text message exchange between Matthew Farwell and Sandra Birchmore on February 11th, 2020. Specifically, the contents of text message draft interview exhibit 2 mark M. Farwell, text number 7, refers to the date, it's redacted. Matthew Farwell, text number 6, indicates that Matthew Farwell, it's redacted, with the narrative of text number 6, Matthew Farwell acknowledges that, and then it's redacted. I believe they're talking about when him and Sandra first had relations. In another text, dated February 11th, Birchmore says it's redacted. Matthew Farwell replies it's redacted. This text message is marked M. Farwell, text number 6. In the following text, Birchmore cites the date, it's redacted, and added, it's redacted. Matthew Farwell replied with a smile, and then me too. This text is marked M. Farwell, text number 7. On the same date, Sandra Birchmore text, it's redacted. Now, once we get to the FBI's affidavit, you'll be able to see that text. Maybe next time I can pull that text out and you guys can see it. But they're talking about when they first hooked up, when she was 15. Blank and Matthew Farwell replied, and then it's redacted. See Farwell text number 15. In another text message between Matthew Farwell and Sandra Birchmore, Birchmore says it's redacted, to which Farwell replied, me too. The message, wait a minute. Hold on. Did it go? I had already read that. Matthew Farwell resigned. I apologize. I forgot to hit the thing again. Matthew Farwell resigned from his position with the Stoughton Police Department on March 11, 2022, with the resignation to take effect on April 1st, 2022. He resisted sitting for an interview with the investigation. The investigation has determined that Matthew Farwell violated Stoughton Police Department rules and regulations as listed below. I mean, tell me you're not guilty without telling me you're not guilty. He resigned without sitting for an interview with the Stoughton Police Department. I think there's something wacky going on, Jessica, because I keep spinning it at times. So I don't know if something wacky is going on with StreamYard or on YouTube. But thank you. Yeah, so and none of them did. They all, except Heel, which he's later, he comes along later in the report. Whoops, sorry. You know, not the, you know, if you have nothing to hide, why won't you sit down with the, you know, with your place of employment? I mean, it takes a lot for a police officer to get fired with police unions, and Matthew was the head of the police union, so it's like, you know, it takes a lot for a police officer to get fired, and that's why there's such a big thing with qualified immunity. You know, police unions are very powerful, so like I said, you know, show me you're not guilty. Tell people you're not guilty. Tell people you're guilty without telling people you're guilty. Okay. Findings regarding the allegations that Matthew Farwell demonstrated conduct unbecoming of an officer in violation of Section 1 of the Stoughton Police Department's rules and regulations. This allegation is sustained. Analysis. What the heck is going on? Sorry. I don't even know what page I was on. My thing just closed. Okay. Findings. Analysis. Matthew Farwell demonstrated immoral, improper, disorderly, or intemperate personal conduct that reflects this. Sorry, I can barely see this. Discredit upon the officer himself, upon his fellow officers, or upon the Stoughton Police Department. The investigation has revealed that Matthew Farwell, it's redacted, relationship with Sandra Birchmore when she was 15 years of age. The relationship continued for many years and included in interactions and communications while Matthew Farwell was on duty for the Stoughton Police Department. Regarding the allegations that Officer Matthew Farwell violated Section 1 of the Stoughton Police Department's rules and regulations, Conference 2 laws, this allegation is not sustained. There is insufficient evidence to prove or disprove this allegation. On the date of February 11th and June 19th, 2020, Matthew Farwell and Sandra Birchmore engaged in text messages in which they discussed the date, and it's redacted. The content of the text messages indicate that Matthew Farwell and Sandra Birchmore, and it's redacted, Matthew Farwell was a sworn member of the Stoughton Police Department on that date. It's redacted. In order to have a sustained finding of this allegation, investigators would need the testimony of Sandra Birchmore, who is deceased. Sorry. And that's what Massachusetts State Police have been saying when it comes to the abuse of Sandra, that they can't charge them because Sandra isn't here to testify against them. So it's almost like a catch-22. But I don't understand why there aren't laws in place, or if there are laws in place that if somebody is no longer here because you killed them and they can't testify against you, that should be part of the case of the abuse should be rolled up in that. I mean, it's kind of how the FBI got him, because the FBI doesn't go after straight up murders. They go after, they got him because he murdered a witness, because they take witnesses extremely serious. And if you hurt a witness, they will go after you. So it's ridiculous. Suzanne, they can charge them. It's just more challenging, and they are lazy as fuck. Yes, they are. And they don't like to go after their own. So there's that too. So for a long time, us who were fighting for her, I worried that they weren't going to get him because they weren't going after her death, and they weren't going after the abuse. And the abuse was the last hope, because they were saying she did it to herself. Thankfully, the FBI came along and got him. He's off the streets now, and hopefully, he stays there for the rest of his life. Regarding the allegations that Officer Matthew Farwell demonstrated incompetence when he failed to demonstrate sound judgment in the violation of Section 3 of the Stoughton Police Department rules and regulations, this allegation is sustained. Analysis. On the date of June 7th, 2020, Matthew Farwell failed to demonstrate sound judgment when he engaged in text messages with Sandra Birchmore while on duty for the Stoughton Police Department. The content of the text messages were that he requested Birchmore to meet him on Walnut Street while he was on duty. Regarding the allegation that Matthew Farwell was untruthful in violation of Section 4 of the Stoughton Police Department rules and regulations is sustained. On February 6th, On February 6, 2021, Matthew Farwell was interviewed by the Massachusetts State Police regarding the death of Sandra Birchmore. During the interview, Farwell admitted to, and it's redacted, a review of the text messages between Matthew Farwell and Sandra Birchmore shows that he was not truthful in describing the context of their, and I believe it says relationship or sexual relationship. I'm not sure which one because it's redacted. Regarding the allegations that Officer Matthew Farwell failed in his attention and devotion to duty in violation of Section 7 of the Stoughton Police Department rules and regulations, this allegation is sustained. On the date of June 7, 2020, Matthew Farwell failed in his attention and devotion to duty when he engaged in texting with Sandra Birchmore while on duty for the Stoughton Police Department. The context of the text messages were that he requested Birchmore to meet him on Walnut Street, which I thought I just read. Or is that just a repeat? William Farwell. Before we move on to William, give me one. Does anybody have any questions about Matthew? They all need arrests, and it's horrible to let this go. I fully agree with you, Mary. I fully agree with you. The fact that Matthew Farwell was on the streets for 3.5 years, not just with, her murder, but the abuse that he engaged in. It's horrible that he was still on the streets, and it's horrible that no one's been arrested for the abuse that happened to Sandra. Okay, so Walnut Street made is easy for Holmes to prove his radio location and payroll on that date. Well done, Holmes. Yeah, I agree. Holmes did an amazing job, and I wish I spoke to him once, and I wish I knew I was going to be speaking to him, because we were talking about a standout. He called me about a standout, and I wasn't expecting the phone call, so my brain was like, derp. So I didn't ask him all the questions that I wanted to ask him. And I don't know if he would speak to anybody about it now, but I mean, like I said at the beginning, I think this report is a pretty good report. I feel like the investigation was pretty good. It's just I don't feel like they went far enough. That's my issue with this report. But we don't know what was mandated from his boss. We don't know what criteria or what boundaries he wasn't allowed to cross. Investigator Grande from AG was trying to boom the case for defense attorney Patrick Holmes Henley those 3 years. Oh yeah, you messaged me about that. Suzanne, Farwell was clearly escalating his behavior in 2020, and Holmes knew he was dangerous. It's sickening. Yeah, I agree. And especially the last month of 2020, like, finding out that she was pregnant, and then the phone call from her friend that came after, it was like he was just escalating, and then it just escalated a lot. So oh, thank you, Nurse Kim. Thank you, Danny, for coming to join us from Nurse Kim. The escalation, and it's sad, everything she was dealing with her last months when she was the happiest, but his escalation was more, and he was starting to scare her. So it's sad what she was dealing with at the last few months, because she was so happy to be pregnant, but he was so angry that she was pregnant, and they were fighting a lot, and okay, William Farwell. William Farwell had been a sworn member of the Stoughton Police Department since March 21st, 2017. until the date of his resignation from the department on August 1st, 2022. He was a member of the Stoughton Police Explorers group during his teenage years and had been designated the rank of lieutenant within the program in 2002. After high school, he entered the military and later acted as a guest instructor within the Explorers program at the request or direction of Robert Devine. Whoops, sorry, I forgot to put it back up. But let's talk about that. Now, Matthew was designated the deputy chief and William was designated the lieutenant. I found out from a source that, because my understanding is that Robert Devine was running the program, but other police officers were running it with him. No, that's not the case. Robert was solely running the program. His wife, Lisa, who was a Quincy cop, would come and help him sometimes, which is insane that an officer from another department would come in instead of officers that were there. And then, like we said before, he took them under his wings. They were his support. So what I was told by other students is that they were running the program with him. They were his understudies. And by him putting them as deputy chief and lieutenant, they became part of the rank and file of the Explorers program. So they were put above other students. That was part of his grooming of them. You know, so when I say, hey, Shari, when I say he was grooming them, that's what I mean. He was elevating them to a level that made them feel like that they could, you know, most teenagers wouldn't think that they could go pull over people. And it would be okay. They thought it was fine. And it ended up being fine for them. Mizzy, I'd love to send you an article Kay found by Matthew post-military service. He lied so badly. Oh, that would be great. Thank you. Okay. I want to get through a little bit more, especially since I know Turtle Boy will be going live if he's still doing a show tonight. Turtle Boy will be going live in about a half hour. So, and I know people might want to go watch that. I'm not sure. Sandra Birchmore was a member of the Stoughton Police Explorers program. Did I take? Yes, I did. Okay. Sandra Birchmore was a member of the Police Explorers group beginning in 2010 when she was 13 years old. She was on the standby list for the program in 2010 and was a member in 2011 and remained in the program until 2016, the year she graduated from Stoughton High. Sandra Birchmore was found deceased in her apartment in Canton on February 4th, 2021, after a well-being check when she didn't report to work. The Norfolk County District Attorney's Office conducted an investigation, and it was determined the manner of death, and it's redacted, which we all know is not the manner of death, and that was a lie. On February 11th, 2021, William Farwell was interviewed by Massachusetts State Police as part of the Sandra Birchmore death investigation. During the interview, William Farwell stated that he first met Sandra about 10 years earlier when she was in the Explorers program, and he was a guest instructor. In 2018, when he was assigned to paid detail, Sandra approached him, and they began to talk with her interest in joining the Army. Farwell put her in touch with an Army recruit, and Sandra began to contact him on a regular basis. William Farwell admitted during his state police interview that he had it's redacted, with Sandra going back about 2 years, and it's redacted. Then it's redacted. The relationship ended when Sandra approached him and his family on a 4th of July at a 4th of July event. After she approached his family, Farwell blocked her on social media, but they stayed in touch on and off. The last time, and it's redacted. Which is bullcrap, because they were in contact like up until her death. You know, it's funny that they kept lying. You know, the lies that they all were just full of a bunch of freaking lies. William admitted during the state police investigation into Birchmore's death, there was an analysis of her devices, cell phone and laptop, etc., on social media platforms. This part of the investigation revealed that William Farwell was in contact with Sandra Birchmore by text messages going back at least April of 2020. And then there's a lot of redaction. And then some of the content has communications in which William Farwell encourages Sandra Birchmore, and then there's a huge redaction. And I believe that it goes into encourages her to send text messages of her hooking up with other men and videos that all came out in I think the civil case. And he, even in the civil case, I believe it said, or no, it was the Boston Globe reported that there's a photo, excuse me, there's a photo of a Stoughton police officer, and it was of the Stoughton police officer's, friend downstairs. And I thought it was odd how that was worded, because I thought it was weird that it didn't say Matthew Farwell, William Farwell, or Robert Devine. So I've always wondered if it was somebody else from the Stoughton Police Department. Miss Jessica, how come some reports are redacted with those details and others aren't? It's just which entity wanted it redacted. I think a lot of this came out with, like the FBI affidavit. There was a lot that wasn't, and I don't even remember much being redacted at all. And it's because they wanted it out there, some word, excuse me, some words they don't feel comfortable saying, like suicide and sexual relationship. They didn't say pregnant, which I find weird that they didn't even say that. It started with one man and Sandra, then got shared. Yeah, but the grooming was all of them when she was a child. So it started with the three of them with the grooming. And I mean, like I said earlier, the twins were groomed also, which you'll kind of see. You'll get that from this report. You'll see some of it. And it's just Miss Jessica, as familiar as I am with the FBI reports, it makes sense. The FBI is like, watch this. Yeah, they wanted it out there. They have and it's funny because sometimes, like, I have some reports that are it's the same report that I got from two different places. So something was redacted on one of them, but it wasn't redacted on another one. So it's funny. I can't answer that. I mean, it's possible. I don't know. But possible. I mean, he was living with his uncle in Canton. He grew up in Canton. So it makes you wonder why he was living with his uncle in Canton and not with his family. But I don't know. I don't know what his childhood was like. I don't know. Some people just are that way, and some people it comes from grooming. Some, sometimes it's trauma and they inflict trauma on somebody else. So I don't know. It's very possible. Very possible. So, all right. I mean, look at how much redaction there is right there. That's like ridiculous. And it's almost like they're like the public can't handle what's behind here, so we're not going to tell them. It's like there is information in some text messages that Farwell is either working a shift or paid detail while he is exchanging blank redacted text messages with Birchmore. The dates and times of these text messages were compared to attendance and paid detail records and revealed the following. April 19th, 2020, and then it's a weird redaction. William Farwell was assigned to midnight to 8, 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. patrol shift and exchanged text messages with Sandra Birchmore, which, it's redacted. The text messages began at 6:47 a.m. and continued past his 8 a.m. shift. April 29th, 2020. William Farwell was assigned to a midnight to 8, 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. as a desk as the desk officer. He exchanged text messages with Sandra Birchmore, which it's redacted. The text messages began at 4:39 a.m. and continued past 8 a.m. into end of shift. I mean, he was texting her at like super early. I mean, 4:30 a.m. or 4:40 a.m. is crazy that he's texting her at that time. April 29, 2020. William Farwell was assigned to paid detail from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Redacted. Text messages began during his midnight shift, continued throughout the time he worked the detail. So he must have been doing like a double, and he was texting her basically the whole time. May 6, 2020. William Farwell was assigned to a midnight 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. patrol shift and exchanged text messages with Sandra Birchmore, and then it's redacted. The messages began at 6:42 a.m. and continued to 7:25 a.m. December 21st, 2020. William Farwell was assigned to a paid detail from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. He exchanged text messages with Sandra Birchmore, and then it's redacted. The text messages occurred during the morning hours and continued until 1:49 p.m. At 11:04 p.m. At 11:04 a.m., Birchmore sent Farwell, and it's redacted. At 11:38 a.m., Farwell sent Birchmore, and it's redacted. Ugh. Regarding the allegations of Officer William Farwell demonstrating conduct unbecoming of an officer in violation of Section 1 of the Stoughton Police Department Rules and Regulations, this allegation is sustained. On the date of April 19th, 2020, twice on April 29th, 2020, work shifts, and later on pay detail, May 6th, 2020, and December 21st, 2020. William Farwell demonstrated immoral, improper, disorderly, and intemperate personal conduct that reflects discredit upon the officer himself, upon his fellow officers, upon the Stoughton Police Department. On the above dates, William Farwell, while on duty, exchanged, and then it's redacted, with Sandra Birchmore. And I believe that was videos and in videos and photographs. I already read this. Regarding allegations of William Farwell, sorry, it bumped me up, so I'm trying to find where I was. On February 11th, regarding the allegations that William Farwell was untruthful in violation of Section 4 of the Stoughton Police Department Rules and Regulation, this allegation is sustained. On February 11th, 2021, William Farwell was interviewed by the Massachusetts State Police regarding the death of Sandra Birchmore. During the interview, Farwell admitted to and it's redacted. And a review of the text messages between Farwell and Birchmore showed that was not truthful in describing, and then it's redacted. He stated during the interview that the last he saw Sandra Birchmore during December 2020. The text messages exchanged indicate, it's redacted, in a parking lot of her apartment building on January 10th, 2021. So he's saying the last time he saw her was in December. And I had said that before. He saw her January 10th in her parking lot. So they lie. I mean, like I said before, the lies, they all keep lying. They all keep lying, and they're disgusting. Sorry. Yeah, the fact that they, 1 month, they were hooking up right before the wedding is disgusting. Yeah, the more you know about Devine, the more your blood boils. And then, Suzanne, Mizzy knows I'll talk Devine BS for 3 hours without blinking. Oh, Suzanne has a little obsession with Devine, and not in a good, not, it's a good obsession, but it's not in a stalker kind of obsession. She anything Devine, she'll read it. I used to call her a beautiful mind sometimes because she had stuff printed all over her house. Yeah, I talked to Suzanne on, was it Saturday? And we're gonna, once I get through this report and the Stoughton report and a bunch of stuff, I'm Suzanne's gonna come on and we'll talk about some Devine stuff. But I want to get my interview with Barb done first. She's my first guest, and there's a couple other guests that I want to have on before I get into that, because there's I want to talk to we just gotta set a time. We've already said we'll talk about it. Bring in an expert who has a lot of knowledge in grooming, so we can go over grooming. And there's a couple other people I want to bring on before we do that show. But yeah, like I said, Barb's my first guest, and now that I'm feeling better and she's starting to feel better, hopefully we can get to a place where we can get that interview done first, and then we can get going on a few other things. And then I told Suzanne I'll bring her on to talk about that. All right, let me see if I can get this last done. This page. Regarding the allegations that Officer William Farwell failed in his attention and devotion to his duty in violation of Section 7 of the Stoughton Police Department Rules and Regulations analysis, on the dates of April 19th, 2020, April 29th, 2020, May 6th, 2020, December 21st, 2020, William Farwell failed in his attention and devotion to duty when he exchanged texts with Sandra Birchmore while on duty for the Stoughton Police Department. The content of the text, and it's redacted, regarding the allegations that Officer William Farwell, did I click the right thing? Yes, okay. Regarding the allegations of Officer William Farwell violated the CJIS, LEEPS, and NCIC data entry policy of the Stoughton Police Department rules and regulations. Well, looky, it says that the policy of the Stoughton Police Department. Sorry guys, my friend Bay, who was, William's old lawyer, kept saying something about when they were going through the post-commission hearings. He kept saying, we don't know if there's regulation. There's no regulations. Well, it says right there in the report, policy of the Stoughton Police Department rules and regulations, as well as the CJIS individual user agreement. This allegation is sustained. Now, Bay, I know you're gone, but I just needed to call you out again because you know how much I loved you. I yelled at Morrissey had a benefit, and some of us were there along with the Free Karen Reed group. And when he drove out, I couldn't control my mouth, and I yelled, "Bay, you're a piece of shit and a liar." Hence what, the deputy chief of Stoughton, who would probably know better than you, Bay, that it was a regulation in their rule procedures and procedure handbook. So I'm glad that has been clarified for you, Bay. Sorry, I had to talk to my friend Bay straight out. On the date of October 10th, 2019 and November 4th, 2019, William Farwell conducted a CJIS query of Sandra Birchmore on the Stoughton Police Department computer. This CJIS query was not associated with any type of official police business. Wait a minute. I got to go back to my friend Bay. In that hearing, Bay said, it was his license plate reader getting her, and that is why she got looked up. Or was it he accidentally looked Sandra up? That doesn't make any sense, because here they're saying he's not the he's not the only one who contributed to Morrissey, but it's concerning that he being Morrissey used to work for the same practice, the same law firm that was representing William Farwell. And that was concerning. And they donated, I believe, a total of $1,000 from between the lawyers that went to that party fundraiser, for Morrissey. So that's concerning that, he's trying supposedly investigating their client, and they're donating to him. So let me finish this page before. Okay. What is this? Regarding the allegations of Officer William Farwell violating the CJIS, is it LEEPS and NCIC data entry policy of the Stoughton Police Department rules and regulations, as well as the CJIS individual user agreement, this allegation, department rules and regulation, this allegation is sustained. Analysis. William Farwell conducted CJIS queries on himself. Let me say that again. Occurring 20 on himself 24 occasions using the Stoughton Police Department computer. This CJIS query was not associated with any type of official police business. These dates on which he conducted these queries are as the follow: October 13th, 2017, January 17th, 2018, January 20th, 2018, February 16th, 2018, March 12th, 2018, April 11th, 2018, April 24th, 2018, May 23rd, 2018, August 20, wait a minute, he did it in he got hired in 2017. Like he was doing it from like the jump. Sorry, August 20th, 2018, October 4th, 2018, November 19th, 2018, December 31st, 2018, January 24th, 2019. Whoops, hold on. January 31st, January 31st, 2019, June 29th, my birthday, 2019, November 13th, 2019, November 27th, 2019, December 20th, 2019, January 24th, 2020, April 18th, 2020, August 9th, 2020, January 2nd, 2021, March 20th, 2021, and April 6th, 2021. I'm going to stop reading this here. So we are at, let me go back. We are at Robert Devine. We are on page 15. I was hoping to get a little further, but that's okay. And we're going to start with Robert Devine for next one. Now, can anybody answer this for me? Why would a police officer need to look himself up 24 times in the CJIS and other categories, the NCIC and the other, what is it, LEAPS? Does anybody have any idea why somebody would? I think he was looking himself up to see if anything was coming down the pike, because he was shady from the, as you can see, he got hired in 2017. So why was he looking himself up in 2017? Yeah, he's guilty of something. Why would a police officer need to look themselves up? Now, to remind you, that is one of the things that Turtle Boy is charged with. From when he had Janelle look up Jen McCabe's car to the plate of the Jeep that was parked at Proctor's house to see if it was Jen McCabe's car. So that's one. And I granted that William's a police officer, but they're not allowed to just go buck wild and look themselves up 24 times and Sandra up twice. for no police investigations, nothing that has to do with his job. It's concerning and wild that a police officer is looking themselves up 24 times. Does anybody have any questions? I know Suzanne's been answering a lot of questions in the chat. I know Barb was before. Barb, that's concerning. Very, very concerning. If he was paranoid, his brother was ratting on him, then he knew his brother knew as well. Well, I think they knew about each other. They knew what was going on. One of her friends told me, and Barb, when we interviewed her, that there was an instance that he was hooking up with Sandra was hooking up with one of them in the back of the police car, and the other one showed up because they were tracking her on their phone. They all were tracking her, but especially the twins were tracking her. And, Matthew would get angry because she would shut off her location sometimes. And that was a fight, and that was contentions between them. Yeah, I agree. The Emmy is, in general, needs to be investigated as well. I agree. And Suzanne, when you do come on, maybe we could tell the story about your friend a little bit when it comes to that specific medical examiner. If she's okay with that, I just don't understand. Are they doing an autopsy review? Is the medical examiner's office doing an autopsy review? Because it's concerning that her birth certificate, death certificate hasn't been changed. That's very concerning. My track me too, which is why we need to talk about safety in mobile cyber, because I'm very well aware of the steps to take. Yeah, it's concerning that somebody can track you, whether it be something more professional or just like the Life 360, for things that a parent would use, jealous partners and stuff like that, and people who are just stalkers use those things to track you. It's very, very concerning. Yeah, to go with this question, granted, maybe 3 or 4 wanted to keep Sandra to themselves, but Sandra wanted the only one. But Sandra wasn't the only one. It's just crazy. It's like crazy when you think of the story that there's 2 brothers doing this, and their mentor, doing this, and people that they William was introducing her to people, and Sandra just wanted to people please them, so it's Suzanne, it's all in the coercive control wheelhouse. Yeah, just way more dangerous with police. Yes, it's way more dangerous because they have the power, and that makes you wonder. The power dynamic is big, they had such power over her. They knew she wanted to be a police officer, so there was that power. Just in general, how police officers have power over the public, and how then when you take into account that she was like 4'10", 4'11", and these were all big, strong men, and it's like so it's like the power dynamic all around when it came to Sandra. It was it was crazy that how the power dynamic was. Hi, Gina. As a young girl, Sandra never had a chance. She had no idea what coercive control was. Yeah. Most people don't till they're, it happens to them, I think at school they should teach us more about, how to spot things in relationships. I think it would be helpful. Yeah, 4'10". That's what I thought, Barb. To help you distinguish aspects of abuse, and whether it be like work abuse, where like there's how a boss can abuse you, or just like in general, like how when I mean a boss, I mean like, or your company. I'm not talking about anything like about Sandra's story, and things like that, and how a partner can abuse you, how how abuse goes in general. Bye, Danny. Thanks for coming in. Does anybody have any? Yeah, I'm glad she did write a journal. It helps in the case. Poor Sandra never got to grow, never got to sleep, never got. I mean, like when you look at all those text messages from William, it's like he's texting her at 4:30 in the morning. At 6:30 in the morning. I mean, 6:30 she might have been getting up for work, but at 4:30 in the morning he's text messaging her. Never got to have a nourishing romantic relationship because of these assholes. Yeah, absolutely. She never got to know what a good relationship was, because all these relationships were twisted. So all right, guys, I am gonna end this. Give me 1 second. I'll save it for next time, but I want to thank you guys for coming, and hopefully next time. Thank you, Heather. Good to see you. Heather and I went to school together. Yeah. Heather knows me before I was Missy. So sorry, I just had a flash of something that happened in junior high, Heather, with two of our friends, who I'm friends with both of them still. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, so I want to thank everybody for coming in. It means so much to me that you're watching me, and because you're getting the information from the reports about Sandra's case, so you can answer questions. So when you hear somebody say something about Sandra's case and it's wrong, you can correct it. It helps Sandra's case. The more people know about it, the more people who know that what went on. And of course, there's stuff that I know that isn't in the reports, because I've interviewed friends, and I've talked to family, and I've talked to people who were in the program, or their children were in the program, And I've learned a lot about this case that isn't in the reports. So I want to try to help you guys, navigate through that with the wisdom that I've learned through this case. And, of course, Barb and Suzanne, we all, this case means a lot to us to continue to push it out there. And we want to make sure that, people are learning about the case properly, and it's not, just opinions. It's more than that. It's the reports. And when we get to the Massachusetts State Police report, now that's a lot of that's farce, because, and I'll get into that more once we get to those reports. But there's a lot of BS in those reports. But I want to thank you guys for joining me tonight. It means the world to me that you guys are here to watch and spend some time with me. And I'm not sure when my next one will be, because we have a crazy week next week. We have Sandra stand out on Saturday. We have the on Tuesday we have Matthew Farwell's hearing, and then on that Friday there is an event for Just En Route, where we're going to be going to where his he was murdered. And I meant to bring that up, but I didn't bring it up. So I want to make sure, I might see if I can do one in between there. I just don't know how I'm going to feel, because it does take me a long time to recover when I go places with my fibromyalgia and my migraines. I usually get hit the next day. I'm like knocked out for sometimes a week. So it's going to be a crazy week for me next week. But if you can come to any of those, please come. Like I said, we got extra signs. When we do the one in Boston, we're not going to be bringing a lot of signs, just because my whole team is going in. But if there are people out there that can, hold them for us, that we know, we're going to bring some, but we don't know how many people are coming. But, I appreciate you all coming to spend some time with me and learn about Sandra's case. We'll reschedule that interview with Barb soon. And so thanks, guys, for joining me. I am Izzy, and I'm a mixed girl in a mixed up world. You guys have a wonderful night. Thanks.